out west to the Los Angeles Lakers with the Anthony Davis and LeBron James dilemma. Now, we all saw the opening game with the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets continuing to toast the Los Angeles Lakers out there in the Western Conference, especially in Denver. And of course, all the talk about that game was Anthony Davis's inability in the second half, scoring 0 points. I believe he had 1 rebound and 1 assist in the second half. And of a player of his caliber, especially after last season with the Western Conference Final sweep, all the offseason talking, the parade talking from the Denver Nuggets, Anthony Davis addressing that in media day, opening the season and stuff like that, and saying how he's been thinking about the Nuggets. They've been doing a lot of talking, and to come out like that in that first game, basically embarrassed on national TV, kind of how he was last year's season. And even though he played well in last year's Western Conference Finals, you can just see that he was a level below the Joker. So now coming into opening night, everyone's expecting Anthony Davis to flip the script, stop the Joker, slow him down. Did not happen. The Joker had an easy 30-point, I believe a 20-point triple-double. And you're looking at Anthony Davis, who had 17 in the first half, who was doing everything points-wise. But over the course of the game, I was like, he was not playing enough force. He's not playing with enough impact. Even though he's matching the Joker scoring-wise, impact on the game, it necessarily wasn't there. And I don't know if it was the mountain air in Denver, which usually gets the players and stuff like that, or just the impact of having to try to cover everything up defensively for the Los Angeles Lakers. Anthony Davis was a no-show, got killed by the media the next day, especially Stephen A. Smith. Everyone's just expecting Anthony Davis to take this next step in being a franchise player, right? Like being able to be consistent on a nightly basis. And then flip that to the next game against Phoenix. He goes out and scores 30, gets 13 rebounds, stuff like that. And on TNT, the TNT crew was Shaq, Ernie, Kenny, and Chuck, where Kenny and Chuck were saying, hey, we know you can do that against these lower level teams, especially with Phoenix, who was without Beal and Booker. We know you're capable of doing that to that type of team. Can you do that against Joker is the question. And Shaq was like, hey, he did what he needed to do. They won the game. They did what they needed to do. But looking at it, it's like the Lakers, first of all, the Lakers, especially with Anthony Davis, there's no, your nemesis right now is the Joker. That is the guy that you have to defeat. Everybody else in the Western Conference you can handle at your position, at the front court position. Looking at against Denver, you play well, but not well enough to match the Joker's impact. And that's what the Lakers need on a nightly basis for Anthony Davis to potentially get back to the Western Conference Finals, get back to the finals, get to a championship. Understandably. And I think that's something that Anthony Davis is going to have to show and battle throughout this whole season, right? That's what his Lakers tenure has been. Everyone talks about the bubble, how he looked inside the bubble, how everything was just clicking for him at that point in time on all sides of the ball, both sides of the ball. But now you're looking a couple years and you're seeing some of these inconsistencies. You're seeing a couple drop-offs. Even though he does show up, you're not seeing him take that next step, that next level to be that guy. And I think that's something, especially with LeBron James now in year 21, which I'll get to that in a moment. You're looking for Anthony Davis to take the keys to the car and drive the Los Angeles Lakers. Because in order for them to reach that level that they want to get back to, he has to do that. He has to do that on a nightly basis, and especially he has to do that against the Joker. He has to, in order for the Lakers to have any shot. Now, looking at the LeBron James situation, looking at the Phoenix game, him and Anthony Davis played the whole fourth quarter, combined for 23 points. Anthony Davis had 13. LeBron had 10 in the quarter to just scrape by the Phoenix Suns 195. And I looked at it in the Denver game, and in the Phoenix game, it actually happened, right? Like where LeBron James was able to come in and able to help the Lakers put away that game. In the Denver game, it was like the game was slipping a little bit. You can see that the Lakers weren't going to grasp and catch on. And I was just sitting there and I'm like, you can't expect the Los Angeles Lakers to keep depending on LeBron James in year 21. It is it is insane. It's not going to work. And if the Lakers think that's their best option to kind of manage LeBron's minutes and then all of a sudden unleash him at this point in time in his career, um, like a boxer who comes out and measures their opponent, gets data over the course of the fight, and then all of a sudden in round 6, 7, 8, you take him into those deep waters, and then you turn the tables on him. That's not going to happen. Dear Los Angeles Lakers, that's not going to happen. There's no nights off in the Western Conference. And the guys on TNT also said that there's no nights in the Western Conference. They named Portland, but then you get through all the other teams. The Utah Jazz are pretty good. The Spurs with Wembanyama, who I'll talk about in a little bit, is pretty good. You got the Dallas Mavericks, who can provide matchup problems. OKC, who even though is a young team, has SGA, who I'll also talk about a little bit. SGA, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Cason Wallace, who's also a nice rookie. So you got all these guys. We got all these teams in the Western Conference, and it's like you're looking, and I didn't even name the top teams like the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Kings, the Suns, when they get healthy. All these teams in the Western Conference, it's like you're not going to have any nights off. And for the Los Angeles Lakers to still be depending on LeBron James in year 21 to scrape by the Suns, and these are wins that they're desperately needed, right? Like nobody's going to remember these early games or anything like that. But just speaking about them, these are games that they're going to have to win. And if they're going to continue to play with this type of game plan strategy, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. It's not going to help you guys. And of course, you want to try to grab these wins while you can. But if you have to scrape by against a Suns team without Bradley Beal, without Devin Booker, and win by 5 points, that's going to be tough. That's a tough recipe in the Western Conference, let alone you have to go play the Eastern Conference, who has some good young teams, who I'll talk about in a minute. But it's just like looking at Los Angeles from that standpoint, if that's the game plan to try to have Anthony Davis be heroic and then have LeBron James come in the last 5 minutes and try to win the game, save the game, that's not going to work. I believe LeBron James was sitting there and he said, hey, I think it was to Phil Handy, or I think it was one of the assistant coaches or Darvin Ham, where he was like, I can play point guard. And I kind of got the feel that he was saying that the ball was kind of sticking with D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves a little bit against Denver. That was against Denver, where I think he was like, hey, I can play point guard and get the ball moving, get the guys in these right spots. It was funny because against Denver, D'Angelo Russell just looked off LeBron James, right? Like just looked him off in a situation where LeBron James was speaking to him, saying basically, I'm in the high post late in shot clock situations. If I'm at the high post, give me the ball, I can see everything and survey everything and get somebody a good look. Instantly, D'Angelo Russell just takes a shot in that same situation. The shot clock was winding down, but there was still enough time to get the ball to LeBron, and he didn't do that. So there's some issues there, and the Lakers are trying to figure that out. And I don't think D'Angelo Russell is long for the Los Angeles Lakers, and I think people are getting sick of him too as well. So definitely during the trade deadline, I'm going to see how that pans out for him. He's obviously with that contract, everybody was kind of saying he was trade bait. Of course, looking at Kyrie Irving and situation. So we'll see how that situation goes now. But if this is the Los Angeles Lakers game plan, it's going to be interesting to see how it falls out. But if they're going to continue to play like this and try to figure, maybe they're just building themselves. Of course, Vanderbilt has been out, hasn't played yet. But it's just like, if this is the game plan that you guys are going to have, it's not going to work. Okay, let's get on to the rest of the NBA. Of course, everyone's going to talk about the Bucks. Damian Lillard having a great, fantastic start to his Bucks career, scoring, I believe, 39 in that game, 34, something like that, against Philly. And now that dynamic of him, Dame, and Giannis is obviously going to be good. No one's going to ignore that. Looking at Philly, I think Tyrese Maxey and Kelly Oubre are kind of looking around like, we don't need James Harden. Tyrese Maxey has been on a tear, I believe, scoring 30 points back-to-back games. Went off tonight again. Kelly Oubre chipping in again, 20 points. If he's able to do that off the bench in this position here where he really has a chance to make the playoffs and be a good player with the Philadelphia 76ers, I think those guys are looking around like, we don't need James Harden. Hurry up and make the trade and get some guys here that can help our bench unit, and we can go take off take off with this unit that we have here. But I want to talk about a team that has been really impressive to me, and I've been keeping an eye on the past couple years, and it's